Go Battle League has finally transitioned into the Ultra League. In this video, we're going to continue our Road to Rank 10 series, where I test out some successful and some not so successful teams, trying to find that elusive winning strategy to get to rank 10. I was able to do it in Season 1 as well as preseason, and I'm hopeful that we can continue the streak coming into Season 2. In this video, we're taking a look at Cresselia as a lead and Lickilicky in the back. That didn't sound right. Anyway, let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel, trainers. My name is Oro Chris. I am your catching coach. And if we head over to the video replay, we have got Cresselia on the team with Registeel and Lickilicky. And as you can see, the movesets there are the pretty typical movesets for each of those three Pokemon. The one potential oddball move would be Lick, Body Slam, and Earthquake on Lickilicky. Body Slam was a Raid Day exclusive move for Lickitung, and if you evolved a Lickitung during that 3-ish, 4-ish hour window, then you could get a Lickilicky with that moveset. This made it very much like a clone, somewhat, of Snorlax. Snorlax in the Ultra League, the typical moveset is also Lick, Body Slam, and Earthquake. Lickilicky also has access to Shadow Ball, so in the Ultra League, somewhat of a more unique or diverse, something to make it differentiate itself from Snorlax is recommended to run Lick, Shadow Ball, and Earthquake. Here I'm running Body Slam, and the reason being a best friend Lickilicky actually beats out in the mirror match against Snorlax, to the extent that that's a mirror match. So I went with this one. Got a great IV version in a lucky trade, so I thought I would test it out. And then Cresselia in the front with the typical moveset of Psycho Cut, Moonblast, and Future Sight. I've sped up the videos a little bit. We're at 1 3/4 speed, I think. Hopefully I can keep up with the commentary. But the rationale behind this, if you recall from yesterday's video, I will put a link up to that. We saw that Cresselia is the #1 ranked Pokemon in the Ultra League. And part of the reason that it is so successful is because of, one, its huge bulk. Just, what do the streamers say? Dummy thick. Just such a bulky, tanky Pokemon. And now with the boosted, buffed Moonblast, a real strong option in the Ultra League, has an answer to almost any Pokemon aside short of Registeel. And that is partially why I'm running Registeel and Lickilicky in the back. The reason for that, Lickilicky is a very strong safe switch, doesn't have a lot of super hard loss matches, and with that Body Slam spam, it is able to pull out some nice key neutral damage in most matchups. And even with Earthquake running Lick, it's going to be able to hit super effective into those ghosts with the Lick Super Lick fast move. So here we've got Cresselia in the lead, Articuno as their lead. That is a tough win because of how long that matchup takes, because Cresselia usually relies on long matchups, relying upon its bulk. Articuno, however, loves long matchups because it can just get off more and more of those Icy Wind debuffs, making that match just drag on. And as a result, over time, it's usually able to pull out the win against those bulkier Pokemon because of that. So I swap, probably a misplay on my part, and the reason being, if I had stayed in with Cresselia, maybe I could have worn down the Articuno to such a degree that it would not have had enough energy left to launch an Icy Wind into my second Pokemon. But instead, I swap into Lickilicky, allowing the Articuno to get off a Icy Wind debuff. So now they have swapped in with Armored Mewtwo. Typical moveset for Mewtwo. I'm expecting Psystrike with the recent addition. That's now a legacy move, but definitely a strong option in the Ultra League. Armored Mewtwo is. And then the other option, the other typical move is Dynamic Punch. even with the non-legacy version, Dynamic Punch is almost always the preferred move with either Rock Slide or Earthquake. So here we're trying feverishly to get to another lock-on, not able to do it. And we do take that Dynamic Punch. And part of the reason that Armor Mewtwo isn't quite as strongly positioned in the meta in Season 2 this go-round is because of the buff to Cresselia. It really, if you're running that typical moveset of Dynamic Punch, Confusion, and Side Strike, it's really got no answer to Cresselia, whereas Cresselia can at least hit for neutral damage with Moonblast. So there, the Lickilicky getting off that final Body Slam spam to pull out the win in that first match. Coming into the second. And another reason, part of the rationale behind why I was going with Cresselia in the lead. With 2 Pokemon weak to fighting types in the back, if Cresselia catches a bad matchup and I have to swap out into one of those Pokemon, whether it be Registeel or Lickilicky, and then they're able to counter swap into a fighting type, I want to be able to wear out that Pokemon so that they think, okay, whatever their normal type or their potentially their Giratina counter, if it's Lickilicky, they think that they are now in a safer playing field.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
It's similar to the strategy of a double grass strategy that Caleb Peng's team relied upon in Season 1 of the Great League. So here we've got the Moonblast coming through against Clefable, deciding not to shield by the opponent. And then coming in with a spicy pick, compliments to the opponent here, bringing in a, not Herdier, Stoutland. Stoutland, can't tell, I don't believe that's a shiny Stoutland. I powered up a Stoutland for the Ultra League just to test it out. Just couldn't get it to work. Too spicy for me. But it does carry Lick, Crunch, and Wild Charge, I believe. If memory serves, some type of electric attack. I'm pretty sure it's Wild Charge. So definitely did get a boost, if I'm remembering correctly, that it was Wild Charge in the recent move rebalance. So now Swampert, a tough matchup for Registeel. So I'm going to immediately swap out into my safer swap, that being Lickilicky, and just go for straight Body Slam spam. Building up to an Earthquake in this circumstance is not really necessary because Body Slam has a higher energy per turn, more damage per turn rather, than Earthquake does. So even though Earthquake is going to do more total damage, launching as many of the Body Slams as possible is probably the safer alternative. So here we are coming down to the wire. He's going to get the knockout, and I have got to get to this Flash Cannon. Otherwise, I'm toast. And here I don't think it's an Earthquake, and it is only a Hydro Cannon, and Registeel coming in with that crazy thickness, able to survive, and we're just on the cusp of the lock on down, but instead we go with the Flash Cannon. So we are now 2-0 in this matchup. And be sure to stick around till the end of the video. The reward encounter at the end is definitely a worthwhile checkout. So here we've got Cresselia coming in against Swampert. They're going to charge up some energy and immediately swap out. Cresselia not really having much of a strong matchup against Melmetal. It's going to be able to at least hit for neutral damage with Thundershock and Rock Slide, but everything that Cresselia has is going to be resisted by Melmetal. But Melmetal not nearly as thick as Cresselia, so still able to make it at least a close matchup. Here, both of my Pokemon in the back are going to be weak to Superpower if the Melmetal is running that. So I decide to go with Lickilicky, and the reason for that, better bait potential, and I want to hold on to the Registeel, because to be able to hit for neutral or super effective damage, building up to that Focus Blast, it does become somewhat of a stickier matchup. Counter argument, you could have gone, it's questionable whether or not swapping into Registeel after they swapped out their Swampert, because you don't want to have your Registeel anywhere near that Swampert in that secondary matchup. So 6 of one, half dozen of another, arguments for both. So here we're going to come in with the Flash Cannon and trying to get off as many charge moves as possible before the opponent is able to draw out the switch timer. So in comes Swampert. No shields, only going to be a Hydro Cannon, and not going to have the energy necessary to get to a lock-on at that range. So we're going to swap in immediately into Cresselia. And it's amazing. We both still have, I think, 3 Pokemon at this point. So you can just see how much longer matches take in the Ultra League. It is crazy. And running a team as thick as Cresselia, Registeel, and Lickilicky, I had several matches end up going to time. I think some of them might actually be in this this set here. So here, going to go with Future Sight. I'm not confident that I'm going to be able to get to 2 charge moves at that range. And Future Sight, because of that stab buff, the same type attack bonus, is going to do more damage than the Moonblast would. And here we're barely able. He does swap in, trying to salvage the matchup. He does do a swap, but I've got 3 Pokemon left. He's got only the 2. So sacking the Giratina is not going to be enough to save the day, and he's in lockdown range. We do time out there. I have 2 Pokemon. He has 1. So I pull out the win in that scenario. If it had been even numbers of Pokemon, then it would have defaulted. The tiebreaker would have been who had the most HP. But when it's still more than 1 Pokemon left, then or if it's not a tight amount of Pokemon, then they go to the HP as the default, only in that situation. So here, thinking long and hard about it, we've got Kevin, no one trainer. Number one trainer, maybe? Could be. And here's Articuno. And again, Articuno, tough matchup. In a perfect world, Registeel would probably be my preferred swap in the scenario, but they're very likely going to swap out if I try to pull that off. And I think that after the first matchup, if memory serves, I decided to stick into this a little bit longer than I had previously. I tried to get off as many of the charge moves as quickly as possible before all the Icy Winds start piling up, debuffing me more and more. As an Articuno user, be sure to shield. If you're going to shield a charge move, shield the first one, almost always. That's going to be most damage done in a charge move because your Icy Winds are just going to wear down the opponent's attack stat. But you do risk that could be a potential bait, depending on energy management and things like that. So it's not all good and not all bad. So here I'm going to hold on to the use the shield because I think that I can get off another charge move. Not enough to get off the knockout. And here I'm left with the decision who's going to get debuffed. And I'm able to lock on down, farm down that that Articuno at the end, get a few leads. They swap in Swampert, and I'm immediately going to swap out because Registeel doesn't want to have anything to do with that matchup. And here we've got 1 shield. I'm going to go for the Earthquake, hoping for no shields. We get it. And it's surprising. Just look at how thick Registeel is in the Great League. Tanking an Earthquake that's super effective is not a tough task, even for something as thick as Registeel. But here, not even, it's like barely even half health, so crazy. So now they're doing 1 damage per lockdown. I am doing, if I've said lockdown, I meant lock on. I'm able to get the knockout there. We're going to swap in. I've got enough energy built up with the Registeel for Focus Blast. We're down over on shields, so we're definitely going to try to launch off as many of those Focus Blasts as possible. Here, I'm not confident that I can get to another Focus Blast before the opponent is able to get to a Hydro Cannon, but regardless, we are in enough of HP range to get the knockout there. So I did see these matches were recorded on day 1 of Ultra League in Season 2. I saw a lot on day 1 of Articuno leads. I don't know if you have been seeing as many as I have. That made me question whether or not Cresselia was the right pick for the lead position because it just kept just the matches just kept draining on and on and on. So the opponent gonna swap out, go into Registeel. I don't want to have anything to do with that as a Cresselia, so I swap in. The reason that I swap in with Lickilicky is because swapping in with a Registeel, I'm going to be behind on energy. They've already got a couple of lock-ons completed by the time I would have swapped in with my own Registeel. So not chasing down that matchup. I'm just going to go with the Lickilicky, try to get to some Earthquakes, do a super effective damage, and then that may potentially, depending on shielding, put the opponent in range for a Flash Cannon if we don't get the knockout. We ultimately do end up getting the knockout there. They launch a Hydro Cannon, getting the knockout, and now we've got Cresselia coming in. I'm going to try to wear down this Swampert before Registeel gets left in a very tough matchup. So he's going to use a Hydro Cannon. At this range, Hydro Cannon probably almost pretty confident that it would not have KO'd, but we do want to hold on to this Cresselia because, as we said, Registeel, that is not going to be a fun matchup. They swap, and now we've got Meganium coming in. Definitely of the grasses, I mean, super thick. We all know Meganium in the Great League. It does have a max CP below the threshold for the CP cap for Ultra League. It can actually be best buddied at 100% and still stay under the threshold. It does have access to Earthquake, so we're going to try to get to as much damage as possible. Here, this is probably optimal for me. They go with a Frenzy Plant. I would have assumed that they had enough energy at that point for a Earthquake. They don't get the Earthquake off. By that point, we've got enough energy built up, farming down the Meganium, and then we get the knockout with Flash Cannon against the Swampert. And that is the 5 matches there. We have got Lapras as our reward, the shiny Lapras. I was so pumped for this one. Ultimately, without the Ice Shard, not going to be super usable. Not the greatest of IVs, but still a very happy reward for me nonetheless. I was not able to participate in Lapras Raid Day. I was on a vacation with the family, and as a result, I didn't get any shiny Lapras from the Raid Day. I was able to get one at GoFest though, so that was a very nice consolation. I don't know if consolation is the right word, but you'll forgive me. You understand. So, as you can see, Cresselia, a very strong option in the Ultra League. Super thick, has great matchups. Again, check out yesterday's video. If you're going to be running it, stick with the standard moveset of Psycho Cut, Future Sight, and Moonblast. The reason being, Moonblast you're going to want to have against those dragons. Future Sight, super hard hitting move as far as Cresselia is concerned, has that stab bonus, and therefore going to be better in neutral matchups. If you are interested in Pokemon Go, competitive PvP, and basically anything Pokemon related, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And as always, happy catching.